Hi, thank you for being here. Welcome. We got a lot to do today. We've got a lot to do today. Spiritual practice. Please contemplate what this means. Welcome, Sanyel. Thank you for being here. What are you practicing for? What are you practicing for? This answer has two answers, really. You're practicing for life. This is the answer to begin with. And then the second answer is what? What is the life that you're practicing for? I encourage you to ask this question more than you ask what to do during your spiritual practice. It's pretty direct, pretty simple, and such a gift to live with. I invite you to tune in to what you're bringing today. I do this sometimes and not others. It's always a good idea. Check your body, root yourself, sit so you can sense your tail connected to whatever you're on, the chair or the ground. And I do invite you to sit on the ground and play around in yoga if you're up for it. Now, when I say play, I really mean play. There are two distinct poles to how to practice yoga. One is assertive and one is receptive, and they're both extremely valuable. When you're being receptive, it's good to not put too much structure to it and play, explore. When you're being assertive, it's nice to have a plan and work with a structure and create some intentions. There is no superior in this. These are partners. And this is where I'd like you to begin. And it's necessary to begin with this because, oh man, in most of the cases that I know of, most of the modalities and most of the teaching styles, we have a heavy imbalance towards the assertive masculine approach. And in this imbalance, there's also often a lot of self-righteousness, a lot of competitiveness, a lot of my way is better than your way. And I encourage you to trust that the only better is in how you frame better. If you think of your way as superior to another way explicitly because it's working for you, and you just start to perceive everybody else through that paradigm, it's not going to be particularly valuable. If you embrace the fact that at any given time in your life, in relationship to the lessons that you have to learn, there's probably something that's going to be the best medicine for you. Then stare honestly into the truth that we are inheriting a wide range of spiritual practices from many different cultures. And they're coming together and they're accessible in a way they never have been before. Because you can get online and look at a YouTube video of most of the major styles, of most of the major spiritual practices from much of human history. That's unheard of. A lot of this stuff was secret, completely inaccessible, and you could only get even in contact with some of the best teachers after years of search and study. Now it's totally different. So the rules themselves must change. And part of that is you embracing that an active ownership over what you're doing is much, much more effective nowadays than it used to be. So here's what we're going to do today. My goal is to spend the first hour in class, the next half hour in questions, and the last half hour in readings. 2 hours total. To the extent that I don't fit into that, bless your hearts. It's a beautiful medium because you can leave and come back. And some of you may be watching this tomorrow or the next day, the next. So whatever role you fit into is awesome. At the end of this class time, I have some reveals. I have some extremely cool lessons that I'm learning right now that are coming together right now. And when I gain access to new spiritual insight, to new guidance from the divine, it's a cherished time. And to have this, to have you as a way of sharing it is extraordinary. with that in mind, I was invited to really embrace the fact that everyone watching this are not students. Some of you are kind of, exactly what your calling is. You know your own relationship to angels and the divine earth. And you're here to help me, nurture me explicitly, need the lessons as if I'm your teacher. And I'm honored for your support. And for those of you who are trusting me and following these patterns and integrating them into your life, I am also so honored. It's an honor to be a teacher. It's an honor to have your trust. And to the extent that I can nudge you, coach you, push you, encourage you, cheerlead you into integrating these practices and the approach that I'm taking, the attitude that I'm teaching into your life. Yes, I'm so glad. This is my calling. Here we go. Spiritual practice. I'm going to give you the foundations. Then we're going to do a little bit. Then I'm going to teach you a little, some nuggets, some, sacred gifts of how to approach certain aspects of this practice. Hints that are valuable, guidance that is valuable for you to approach taking on a spiritual practice when you're on your own, which is very different than being able to access a teacher. There are some extraordinary advantages to doing this over the internet. This is not just about making up for what I can't do with you in person. This is about the ideal distance in many cases. I'm reaching out to find people who are going to fit into this as best you can. And when you are on the other side of the world, we have to start thinking in terms of, what can I do to teach you how to perceive yourself in relationship to the practice? I can't be there to say, hey, your leg's out of balance, or hey, I think you should do this all the time. So the gift of that is that by teaching you approaches, you get to keep them. It's like the difference between giving someone a fish and teaching them how to fish. I'm hoping to teach you how to fish. I'm hoping to teach you how to fish for what you need to work on. Then with the tools of how to work, you're empowered to identify and relate with your spirit in a way that teaches you what's happening and what you can do to transform yourself. This is practice. This is spiritual practice. You're dedicating some time, intentionally and consciously, to focusing on your self-work and your self-work in relation to your spirit. And when we say spirit, we're talking about a time when you're intentionally integrating mind, body, and spirit. There's an early class on mind, body, spirit. Might consider taking another look at it, even if you've seen it already. In this integration, what you're doing is you're tuning yourself, you're focusing yourself, and you're preparing for your life. The idea is to tune yourself in to your ideals, your prayers, the truth of who you are, and tune yourself in so beautifully that you carry this with you. You are practicing for how to live a better life. And by intentionally, consciously focusing what you do during your practice, you make the right choices to live the kind of life that you're going for. Here is the basic goal structure that I encourage people to follow. 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week. Next week, we start a Monday class on spiritual practice. Every Monday for a little while. We're going to see how it goes. What we're going to do is give you a balance between I'm going to guide you in some movement and I'm going to guide you to ask questions about what you need to do perhaps differently than what I'm showing you on the video. In this 1 hour, we're going to do some movement, some meditation, and some questioning that leads to intentions you set for your week. This is the basic structure I encourage you to use. And if you don't do it with me or with us, then I do encourage you to explore identifying, crafting your own version. 1 hour a week and 3 more times of 20 minutes. This is a pretty basic goal. 1 hour a week, 3 more times of 20 minutes, a bunch of 5 minutes every day, more than one, sometime, morning, midday, or evening, sometime. and countless 1 minute. Countless. All right. Now, so blanket this. But here's the deal: the 5 minutes and the 1 minute are never forced. They're just learn when you need it and put it into practice. Interrupt your day, interrupt your stuckness, interrupt your tension and your anxiety with just 5 minutes or little 1 minute exercises that help retune you, relieve you, refocus you on your breath. Some examples. We've been doing this breathing through the key ring. Now watch how this integrates, okay? You can do this with me now or do it later and just watch. It is not better to always try to force yourself to do things. Sometimes it's nice to just tune in and recognize what I'm doing. So, here's how this works. Really quickly. Mountain. A breath. Inhale. Divine. A breath with the crown. Inhale. A breath with the throat. Sink down. Sacral. A breath in each chakra and pose, a breath in the transition. Inhale, nose tip. Inhale, chair, solar plexus. Inhale. Inhale. Horse dancer. Lungs. Root and goddess. Chin with ape. Star with navel. Bye-bye. Crow pose. Down on the ground. Crouch. There we go. That doesn't take much time. I don't think that was even 5 minutes. That retunes you. Now, the principle is that each of those poses is a resting place for each of those chakras. So you can hang out there, focus on the chakra rather easily because the pose helps you accentuate the energy of that chakra by activating those muscles. It's a good place to work physically and spiritually in the unity. And as you do, you give yourself an opportunity to work on those themes mentally. It's that basic. The goal here is to connect the themes to the feeling, to what you do. So when you know you have a particular shift in emphasis in your life, you're trying to work with your intentions, what you're intentionally creating. It's a really great time to work with the solar plexus. So this becomes an awesome place to hang out, focus here, and stretch. Look what I just did. How long did that take? Not even a minute. Do that a lot. Why not do that a lot? Do it a lot. Do it a lot. Interrupt your day and start doing things like that. And what you're giving yourself an opportunity to create is a unity between your intentions and how you how you emphasize what you're doing in your day. How many of you don't get up and stretch enough? Probably most. Most people don't get up and stretch enough. All I'm encouraging you to do is both add stretching more and make it intentional. Try to do it in relationship to what you're focusing on in your life. It doesn't seem like much. It doesn't seem like much. But when you do it, the active work helps you transform everything about your day. This, the level of dedication you need to make to yourself is so minor. So minor. Think about that. I'm encouraging you to commit 2 hours a week. 2 hours a week. One 1 hour and 3 20-minute sections. All the breaks, you're not counting. They're never forced. They're always a gift. They're always a desire. They're always just a blessing to add them in. 2 hours a week. You can do this. And if you're not doing it, please, consider committing to do it now. At the end of a practice, there's some simple steps to take. I'm going to introduce you to it, and then we're going to do it more in depth in a little bit. So here's the simple steps to take. During a practice, you're setting aside a certain range of time to work with yoga. This is not just any yoga. This is chakra yoga, which I'm introducing you to, which means a lot of the poses include movements, so it's a little more active. Most of the movements you can find in yoga classes, they're just sort of de-emphasized. They're things people add on. They happen to work really well with chakras. So when you amplify your willingness to create a left-right movement and then come back into focus, you're giving yourself an opportunity to balance the left and right side of the chakra, allow that to influence the left and right side of your body, and teach you what's going on for you. All these things happen at once. You're diagnosing what's happening for you in your life. Trust this, please. What's happening in your body is always directly related to what's happening in your mind and your spirit. All of these three things influence each other in a manner that's intertwined. This is magic. This is Jedi depth magic. The knowledge of it is a little bit of a challenge to embrace, but once you get it, the extraordinary influence it has starts, really subtle. Starts really subtle, but then you start recognizing you're completely re-steering yourself past all sorts of obstacles and traps. You're activating like the butterfly knowing exactly when to set in motion the perfect wind. Little flap of a butterfly wing with your intention and a simple, quick exercise can set in motion a wind that blows you in the right direction in your day and then on into your life. In order to gain that influence, you have to keep yourself tuned. You have to keep yourself aligned with the healthiest spirit for you. And in order to stay aligned, you have to keep doing the work. Because what this does is it brings in a purity of energy, and that energy will always seek out exactly the greatest barriers in your consciousness. Those barriers are revealed through the chakras. Many of them are obvious. Shoulders bear tension when you have taken on burdens that aren't appropriate for you. Your gut gets hollow or tense when you're not making choices about how to act in a way that's aligned with your spirit. You get ungrounded when you're not in tune with your relationship to the world in a healthy way. You're not fitting into society. Your needs aren't being met, and you're not giving in a way that helps reciprocate and get your needs met. Your chakras reveal these things to you, and people go lifetimes ignoring the gifts of this. They can go their whole life ignoring, saying, I get headaches, without addressing what's underneath the headaches. Saying, I have neck problems, without addressing the fact that when you have neck issues, there's something that needs to be communicated through you. You have a divine message to bring. And yes, part of that divine message involves speaking up for yourself when you're in terrible dynamics in your relationships. Part of this urge, drive to communicate clearly is about taking care of yourself and asserting to the people around you what your truth is and what you need. So here's my invitation. There are several practices, several 5-minute ones, the standing and the grounding. When you memorize them, it puts you in a position where you can immediately work with the 12 chakra cycle, the key ring cycle. You memorize them. There's a pose for each, one when you're standing, one when you're on the ground. Then there is an ability to expand those poses with added movements. So I'm going to show you this in a second, how this works, because it's really kind of beautiful. The standing poses have stillness and motion. The motion helps balance the chakra. The stillness helps focus and helps you meditate on it. And it gives you the blessing of learning to address what's happening when you work to hold your body still, because your body's never still. There's always a lot going on. But when you intentionally hold yourself still, you can start to pay attention to what your body's communicating about how you're imbalanced. Now, I want to show you just one quick thing on the ground, all right? So what we're doing here is, on the ground, you have the ability to balance left, right, and then empower. So when you're going from an easier pose, a more restful pose, to a more challenging pose, you build your strength. And you're building it physically, but it translates into your spirit, particularly when you move in a way that's graceful. Grace tunes you into spirit. Grace means your mind is supporting your movement, but your body is seeking what feels natural, what feels alive. And that alive feeling is present with spirit. That aliveness, that natural motion puts you in tune. When you're more in tune with your spirit, you start to get more divine inspiration and intuition. All these things reinforce each other. And for that reason alone, I felt that it's necessary to introduce yoga in a different way than I was taught. Many good teachers practice this way. There's some really graceful, beautiful yoga teachers. And when you watch their transitions, the elegance is like you can watch how deeply within their body they are, because an extraordinary range of motion is articulated. They're not just moving in a wooden way. They're moving with a grace that allows you to recognize what it is to be deeper inside your body with your consciousness. You have access to influencing many more of your muscles. That directly gets you in tune with spirit. You can't do that without being in tune with spirit, but it's important to emphasize it. When you emphasize it, you start to get the gift of priority. One of the biggest detriments that I have discovered in yoga is that people will typically overemphasize mental corrections. I cannot say this enough. We want to replace a list of mental corrections in your mind with an approach to understanding what your body's saying. And it's a replacement. Because then the mental corrections come back later as tools. Maybe they're going to work and maybe they're going to help you. But when you overemphasize them too early, your head is constantly thinking about how your body should be, and your mind is literally controlling your body too much. And when your mind controls your body too much, you won't find the grace that tunes you in with spirit. You'll do your body some good, but in many ways, you're creating some tensions while you relax others. It's not as valuable as you might think to force yourself through more time with an approach like this. And for this reason alone, I think it's brilliant that you can't go to a yoga class right now. I think it's awesome. I think it's really good for millions of people to not go to a classroom right now. Learn to tune into yourself. Haha. I haven't heard this, what Jung calls compensation. But articulate it a little more, Sonia, please. This is a really strong relationship dynamic where when you prioritize attempting to memorize how to teach yourself, it creates an awful lot of doubt. And for this reason alone, a very low percentage of people will practice yoga on their own because there isn't a teacher there to guide them. So here's some basic gifts that you can use, okay? Centering with your foundation. Now, this is all about priority, all right? I am in goddess pose. I have a priority to ground my foundation into center. This will seem really simple. I would like you to repeat this in your head multiple times because you might think you understand this. Like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'm telling you to put this first. Here is your foundation. Here is your foundation. It is more important to be good in your foundation than it is to lift your arms because we want to ground from everything that touches the earth up like this. And if anything significant is out of balance on the way up, don't continue. So right now I'm in this foundation. People almost always engage this pose and then put their arms up really quickly. I don't think you ever should. Not for a while. Because almost everyone that I know is challenged by the fact that you're using the front of your thighs too much. You're not using your hamstrings. You're not balancing the power of your legs. So when you start with a faulty foundation, why are you raising your arms? The arms are going to be lifted with the leverage of the earth. So if your leverage is off, it becomes that much more difficult to correct what's going on down here. So don't correct what's down here. But people do. Don't continue without correcting what's down here. But people do all the time because they're always going to try to emulate the teacher. Now, here I am. I'm feeling the front of my thighs. This is work. This is good for me right here. Don't lift my arms. It's the restraint not to lift my arms. I know I can, but I haven't worked on this enough. Sink, forward, activate the root, squeeze, turn my feet out a little, explore I'm on the balls of my feet, I'm on my heels, finding balance between the ball and heel of my feet, changing the angle a little on my right foot, just a little. Okay, that opens my hip more, leaning, exploring, tucking my tailbone more. Oh, there we go. I tuck my tailbone more. I activate Mula Bandha. My heels root. Still really working the front of my thighs, like too much. Lean forward. There. That is some balance strength in my legs. Lost it a bit. Balls and heel. Shifting balance. Oh, my breath is open. This is good. Tucking my tailbone more. Wow. It's when I tuck my tailbone a bit more and activate Mula Bandha that I pull strength through my legs, through my thighs. And then I just raise my arms just so naturally. Whoa. Now what I'm doing here is I'm saying foundation, up, and center. So I start with the bottom and I reach energy up through the rest of me and I identify what's out of balance first. As soon as I identify anything significant, muscular, that's demanding my attention, I say, that's my priority. I'm going to work on that. So the front of my thighs, this is an often one where it gets stuck. Front of my thighs is screaming. So I start working to see what simple, basic adjustments can I make to get strength into the back of my thighs. When I get strength in there, it supports the front. And actually, I'm realigning myself. I moved my feet. I shifted weight, ball to heel. And then I found tucking my tailbone. All of that affects the lines of energy through my body, such that by registering, which everybody could do this, you register what muscles are screaming at you the most, what muscles are drawing your attention. Then you discover all the other adjustments. You don't do them because you're checking off a list. You do them because you discover them naturally. And when you discover them naturally, your body retains it. It's not all in your head anymore. Your head's just supporting it. Your head's registering that helped a lot, but your body knows it. And you're not paranoid moving around all the time waiting for a teacher to tell you what you're doing wrong or right. You won't get hurt nearly as much because you're not overextending yourself. Now, it might seem minor to not lift your arms at first, but it's huge. Because what I'm saying is, I know you can lift your arms. Don't do it. Not until you get your foundation right. If you maintain that discipline, you can explore really deep. Applying this in a headstand is phenomenal. When you do a headstand, which I can't do and teach nearly as easily, but when you do a headstand, you start registering your foundation up. You feel tension in your face. You'll feel tension right in your neck here. And all you do is adjust foundation up, which becomes your head. And you say, how do I balance? I feel tension in my face. I need to feel more in the back of my head. I feel tension kinked in my throat. I need to lean a little bit more like this to balance. Back of the neck, front. Then I feel it in my upper chest, often right here. Readjust till I feel here. This simple principle starts to reveal all the major corrections in yoga. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. And it's ideal for how to practice when you're on your own. And I can't be there. Nobody can be there to remind you. And it's much more influential in my experience than simply following someone else guiding you, because someone who's guiding a video can't tell you all the things you might need to do because they're specific to you. So you need to be more present and actively own your practice. And this is the beginning of my invitation for you to do that. Next Monday, we will start weekly yoga classes that are your weekly 1 hour spiritual practice. This week, I'm noticing, I'm losing some people because some of you don't want to do the yoga, and bless your hearts, those of you who do. And, I'm not going to keep this about yoga every week, but I really want to give this time this week to invite you into the divergence where I'm going to start doing 2 classes, one on Monday, one on Tuesday. Monday is spiritual practice with a heavy emphasis on yoga, chakra yoga. And then Tuesday will go back to being themes and spiritual questions and such. Big breath. Now, I would like to read your response, Sonia. Yes, actually, that's perfect. I didn't realize that there was a name for it in this form. I really, young was a beginning of my journey in many ways. Compensation. That's great. That specifically addresses exactly what we're talking about. And you can identify that you are sort of your body is compensating for the mental control over you. And you can see it in people's movement. They're not as natural. They're much more stunted. And many of the quote unquote best yogis move this way. Watch some yoga practices. Now, I have to say, in my experience, there's a little bit of a bias towards some of the best female teachers are very graceful in a way that I think everyone needs to aspire to be. Shiva Ray comes to mind for sure. The grace in that woman is so inspiring. Anna Forrest is absolutely extraordinary. The ability to move from within with this integration, like you're a creature, like you're alive. Think in terms of we are learning to embody the active living vibrancy, the natural movement of a monkey. You know, it's a shame to have to say it or to learn it or to emphasize it, but monkeys don't memorize lists of corrections. They know how to leap. They know how to balance. Watch a squirrel jump from branch to branch. They're not thinking about where they place their feet. They're trusting their instincts. And to cultivate this within yourself is very scary. Oh, please trust. It is so scary to cultivate this within yourself because it wakes up all your primal feelings. Really, there's a direct relationship. So Jung's compensation, I'm so excited to learn this definition. Thank you so much for sharing, Sonia. The compensation of the mind is literally strangling you. It's strangling your body to keep you from awakening the feelings and the emotions of a primal creature. And you are a primal creature. And that does not have to be dangerous. That does not have to unleash terrifying rages that get out of control, but it certainly will if you've always been repressed and you don't know how to be present with your anger or your sadness or your need, your desire. If you don't know how to be present with these feelings, your mind will continue to strangle you. And your mind thinks it's strangling the feeling, but the end result is that it strangles the body through this compensation process. It's preventing you from moving freely. This approach to chakra yoga is about inviting you to reawaken a natural movement and to understand it. Get your mind to be a partner. It's a support. It's going to help unlock the ways in which you've been tangled and knotted. It's going to understand those shifts and watch them and be excited about them. But it's not the drill sergeant anymore. It's a completely different approach to movement. And the beauty of that is just awesome. So that's a hint. I have a bunch of other guidance systems, guidance principles, that by teaching the guidance principles, you do memorize them. And sets of 5, you can handle it. And when you memorize them, you just use these to kind of scan how you're moving. And after a little while, you liberate yourself to move. And you're a creature. You're a monkey. You're a squirrel with an integrated divine presence that affects your mind in extremely positive, mature, evolved ways. And the gift of that is a really great life. Now, at the end of this cycle, whatever you design as your practice, and I'm offering you several practices, one that's 20 minutes, one that's 30 minutes. I'm going to give you a 40-minute one. Can I do it? Yes. This week, even if it doesn't look good, this week, I will give you a 40-minute one. And then you're going to take time at the end to evaluate what's come up. Because if you watch what comes up physically, either what you're drawn towards or what you have trouble with, then you correlate that to your chakras and you say, these are issues for me. Now, that might also take the form of actively awakening feelings in you. And the more committed you come to working with a spiritual practice, the more true that's going to be, that you're going to actively awaken feelings within yourself, a relationship to stuck memories. And then you get to say, that's a priority. I need to emphasize working on that this week. And this does not have to be drill sergeant dominance. This can be a choice to focus on particular themes, and then you're reminding yourself. Now, what if, for instance, one of those themes is anxiety? You recognize while you're practicing, you pay attention. What's your mind interrupted by? What's making it difficult for you to focus? Now, unlike many spiritual practices, I'm not encouraging you to just shove that away. I'm encouraging you to work with it. Anything that's on your mind is food for your practice. It's not an impediment. It's not in the way. It's a hint. So if you notice that you're anxiously drawn, you're distracted, you're having a hard time focusing on how to practice, how to move, what to do next, you're anxiously drawn towards what? So you just identify it. Say, I am thinking a lot about this. And then you say, that is a theme that matters. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but this is a big deal. You're just pegging it. Rather than being annoyed by what's happening, you're just saying, okay, this is what's happening. And you're not just thinking about it in order to push it away. You're not just thinking about it in order to re-steer yourself. You're saying, okay, I'm anxious about the government falling apart. So then you start to relate that. That's in many ways root. There's primal fear going on when we have, a governmental challenge. I mean, this obviously applies to people most in the United States right now. So there's a primal fear about stability. So now let's work with the root. So this pose, goddess pose, is going to be your break this week. So that there could be this connection between whatever you're worried and bothered about, and just saying, okay, I'm going to make this connection. I'm going to use goddess pose as my break, and I'm going to get up and do that fairly often. I mean, I didn't even do that for a minute, but that kind of amplifies my focus a little bit. From there, you want to take it further, and you say, I'm worried about this primal relationship to the world, how it affects me, my sense of security. Let's take a look at what your more direct relationship to your community is. What's your role? Are you at peace with your role? Are your basic needs being met? So we're using your worry about a big theme to start fueling where your focus about yourself can be. So you're identifying what can you do. And my encouragement is that you trust that the chakras really reveal the magic of what's going to work. Now you're not annoyed that you're thinking about the government anymore. Now you're going to draw this link between where your worry is and what actions you can take. And those actions are going to be good for you. Primal needs. What is your role? Perhaps you need to question, is your outlook, is your career path in tune with you? And are your needs getting met in that? These are big questions, and you could certainly make a theme for the week of asking those questions of yourself. And so every time you start to worry or notice yourself distracted in a way that's quite unpleasant, you have a response pattern that you can put into play. And it's a question. You can't get this wrong. You just say, okay, I'm worried about the world, the state of the country, and the stability. My question is, how can I work on my relationship to being grounded, fitting in to my community, and fitting in a way that I get compensated and that my needs, my basic needs, get met? Ta-da! That's magic. Now, the fact that might seem straightforward and just like kind of good advice doesn't make it any less magical. That's how good magic works. Now, all of this goes a little deeper in that integration. Yeah. We integrate it into our lives. One of the greatest challenges that many people, many spiritual, straightforward, like you're identifying as a spiritual person who's pursuing a spiritual path. One of the greatest difficulties that you can have on a regular basis is that you'll know things on one level. You know it. In fact, a lot of you are annoying. Like I'm saying things and you're like, yeah, I knew that already. Or yeah, it's a good reminder. People say that to me all the time. Oh yeah, that's a good reminder. It's like their pride is a little hurt that I'm telling them that they should focus on something. I'm like, look, I'm not just reminding you. I'm saying put this first for a little while. Try it on. Don't just remind yourself, embody it. Emphasize it. Set aside other things and put this first. Because the gap between integrating what you know and what you're learning into the extremes when you forget. Because if you're honest with yourself, you're probably forgetting your best self, your best attitudes during certain moments of your life, certain moments of your emotional expression. Like you get angry, you get triggered, and you forget what matters to you most. You forget your tools. I do, certainly. But the more I do this work, the easier it is for me to remember. And that's where this becomes spiritual practice. I think that the word practice is so beautiful because it kind of takes the seriousness out of it a little bit. You're practicing. You're practicing. When you practice, it's okay to start over. It's okay to not be smooth. You're not performing. And so during this time of practice, you can chill out a little bit, particularly when you don't have an aggressive, dominant teacher like breathing down your neck. Strong teachers that push clearly could be such a gift, but they could be such a curse too, because you start measuring yourself in relation to them and you start getting addicted to them telling you who you are and what you need to do. So it's a mixed blessing at best. And so many major spiritual traditions overemphasize this masculine dominance. And the gift is someone comes in and says, this is the way that you shall be. Ah, no, not that. Do this. Nah, no, not that. Do this. And their dominance gets you going. It moves you in the right direction, right? So that now you have momentum where you used to be kind of lost. People can give up addictions this way. People can make major life changes this way. And then they're like, oh my God, da-da-da-da is amazing. This is the best teacher ever. Well, the problem is that came at a cost. And that came at a cost because you made the right changes. You made some of the right choices, but now you don't really know how to find those things on your own as well. We're going for both with this approach. And this is why this is a gift. This is a gift this time because most people in the world really should not be going to a class in person. So you got to do stuff online. And when you do stuff online, you have this extraordinary change where there's much less feedback. And it's a gift. I want you to embrace it as a gift. Yes, it's difficult to maintain the same level of discipline in certain ways because you don't have someone else there telling you, do this now, do this now. But if you can bridge that gap, which you could do, you could commit to 1 hour a week and 320 minutes. 1 hour a week and 320 minutes. And yes, I'm telling you, make yourself do that. It doesn't have to be at exactly the same time, but it might help if you schedule it in and make yourself do it. These are basic commitments. And I'm encouraging you not to commit to more than that. You can do more, but only if you want to. Only if you want to. This is the discipline I'm inviting you into, and I've found it to be extremely beneficial over the years. 1 hour a week, 320 minutes. Commit to it, make yourself do it. If you get a little bit bored, tell me. We're going to keep stirring this up, mixing this up, and finding ways to make it fresh and alive. But you need to come to terms with how little you have to do to dramatically change your life. So many people, so many of you have gone through phases when you've probably done much more than that much time, committed to a yoga practice or aerobics or weightlifting or something that's really good for you, Tai Chi, a long list of things. I've done many weeks in my life with 2-hour yoga practices almost every day. I don't want to exaggerate, but that's certainly been a beautiful gift to me, is having extended practices over the course of years. I'm encouraging you not to force yourself past those limits and start to watch what a difference you can make in that small amount of time. At the very end of your hour, you're going to ask yourself a simple question. 2 simple questions. You get yourself into the purity, a heightened purity of an hour. And this goes for 20 minutes as well. Heightened purity of 20 minutes. It's such a minimal goal, but it can make such a huge difference. You get yourself into this purity, and then you say, what do I need to not do today? It's really basic. Don't prepare your answer. Tune in from within the gift of this spiritual natural grace and say, from that perspective, what do you need to not do today? And what do you need to do today? What is a priority? I find it very helpful to ask what you need to not do first, because those are the things that you often might go to as a crutch, as a distraction, and a distraction in a way that gets in the way of what you most need to emphasize. So you identify what you need to say no to, probably surfing the web too much. Something. What do you do habitually in a way that you know you're tense, but you're trying to get into your head, trying to get out of your feelings because there's something numb, something unhappy there. I'm not saying never do it. I'm saying scale it down and ask yourself during this time, because something else might come up that surprises you. And then you say no to that. And then you say, what matters? Start with one thing. What's your priority until you go to sleep? Whenever you do it, scan the time until you go to sleep and say, what do I need to do during this time? And then stick to it. Now, I don't want you to make a long list of no's and yeses. I want you to make maybe more than one, but definitely identify one major no and one major yes, and then stick to it. Stick to it. It's a simple discipline, but it's huge. It's huge. This works just as well for the 20 minutes. Definitely do it after. Sometimes I do it after 5 minutes, but definitely do it after the 1 hour practice and after the 3 20-minute practices. There you go. Wonderful. Now this is perfect. I've got 10 more minutes, and then we'll do some questions and some readings if people are still around. Now I'm noticing, the number of people who come and leave is more severe. And thank you for sticking around, those of you who have. I can't encourage you enough that all the extreme themes that I share that get people's attention and the exciting readings I have to give you, the answer again and again and again is learn to take better care of yourself. Like, that's always the first answer. You wake things up by understanding the secrets of the universe. You find out that you're born here in this body, and how can you live a better life? How can you love this? How can you cherish this? What kind of attention and love do you need to give yourself? So, getting a little older, I'm a dad, got another baby coming, and I have this responsible presence. Seems to me that many of the people that are viewing the channel are younger. So I'm the one who, tries to herd you towards taking better care of yourself. Secret gifts that I promised at the beginning. When you come to Earth, you're not gendered. You don't have a gender. You're not a male or a female. You're just a soul. Being a soul is a very specific thing. It means you're existing in relationship to this sun, this star. You incarnate when you come to this star. It's a very different experience. When you're not in relationship to the star, you're existing in relationship to the galaxy in a very different way, which means a lot of things. But base level, heat and motion. Motion is heat. Heat is motion. So when you incarnate in relation to a specific star, you're tuning into exactly the frequencies of this sun. That involves, what is the star burning? If you look at the molecular structure of different stars, they are at different stages of fusion. Our sun is different than Sirius, is different than Alpha Centauri. And so when you come to a sun, you have to look at where it's at. And when you incarnate in relation to that sun, you actually embody a soul. Your soul is not eternal. Your soul is in relation to what happens while you're here. Your eternal self, I don't have another name for it. People often confuse for your soul, but your soul is specific to this sun. People don't think about this or remember this enough. When you come to the planet Earth, you're incarnating in relation to this body, this material presence. And so there's an even more specific choice happening. You incarnate within your solar incarnation, you incarnate on the earth. This is your spirit. Your spirit exists as a reflection of the karma you bring. So you're coming to this earth with the momentum from the sun, and you're drawn here. At a certain point, you're drawn here. Now, believe me, this is how it works. The earth is sending out little messages, often through people who go around, and often through spirits. People, I don't know what name we're going to give to it. But spirits can leave the earth, but they're still in relationship to the earth. And they're kind of like, they're recruiters. They're the dude passing out the brochure, the little handout that says, come to our party. When you agree to come towards the earth and you start to get drawn in, you become more masculine. You're drawn in to the earth. There's a feminine power of being drawn in. And that's the most critical distinction at first. At first. When you're drawn in, there's this incarnation point where you're going to choose, are you just coming closer or are you actually going to incarnate? You can come closer and orbit. The moon orbits. One day it'll probably crash into the earth. But man, that orbit can last an awful long time. There's a balance where an orbit is essentially the moon is falling towards the earth, but because the earth is moving and the moon has a spin, it just stay in relationship to the earth for a long time. You can do that. You can come closer to the earth, exist in relationship to the earth, but not incarnate on the earth. And that means you don't actually incarnate into a spirit. If you choose to incarnate into a spirit, that means you're going to live in at least one body on the earth. Your soul has this masculine presence. It's coming from the light. It's coming from the light coming into the earth. The earth brings you, draws you in, and then you incarnate into a spirit, and your spirit at first is fundamentally feminine. It's receptive. And what this means is you are essentially allowing the earth to transform you in relationship to your own karma. It's a beautiful surrender. Beings love doing this at this point in the process, usually. It's a surrender, and surrender's fun for a solar being. It's also scary because in that surrender, the earth reshapes you. The earth reshapes you, and you let go of your active power. You've given in to the earth's gravity even deeper, and you're diving into your life. And you get to ask for some things and negotiate some things, and you get denied. Some of the things that happen to you are not what you wanted, and some of them hurt. And it's a lot easier to agree to many of those things before they occur. In fact, the first time you approach a planet, it's like you don't know anything about the dynamics of that planet. So they'll tell you, well, this happens and this happens. And you're like, okay, whatever. It's very abstract in that way. Even an emotional imprint has nothing like the experience in it. Because you just, until you've surrendered into having that experience, it doesn't have the same impact. As a result, many beings who just come to visit incarnate in the body of a cow that's not living a very good life. And they don't feel nearly as much as we do. In fact, they stay in a group mind with each other, and they can retreat into the group mind out of their body, out of their physical experience. But if they don't learn to be more present with the physical experience, they can't stay. Thank you, Lenny. I'm so glad you're here as well. I really enjoy sharing this stuff now because it's sort of like give them some of what they want in order to give you what I want you to learn. I want you to take really good care of yourself. And often people want to address the big themes in order to avoid some of life. And now, make no mistake, I think it's really healthy to answer some of the biggest questions. In fact, it's fundamental for a certain range of progress to answer the big questions, but you really do have to bring it back into yourself. And that's why, dedicated so much time today to the spiritual practice aspect. I really hope we can find a good balance and that you guys who have stayed with it will stay with your own commitment to take care of yourself. Blessings, Haldi, blessings. So to wrap this aspect up, there is a wide range of presence to your incarnation. A life in a body is not a life in a body is not a life in a body. A lot of beings are practically not here. They're just resting, they're letting go of karma, and then they'll leave. And their bodies suffer, but they leave their bodies when the bodies suffer. Now, it's not quite as simple as you have to learn to suffer, but it is as simple as the earth will kind of mess with you a little to challenge you. Like, do you really want to stay? It's not cruel, but it looks cruel when you first see it. This is really big. When you first get in touch with Gaia, she can seem mean. For real. It's about being able to embrace certain passions and recognize the frequencies. When you incarnate on the earth, we're creating very specific vibrations. These vibrations are different than anything else that you were doing before. So you're incarnating into a very unique plane of reality with all sorts of unique energy fields. You can have a vague relationship to these fields. If you have a vague relationship, in fact, you need to have a vague relationship at first. It exposes you to what they are. And then you get to make a series of choices about whether you're going to go deeper. When you go deeper, it's the difference between a rudimentary yoga practice and a yoga practice inspired by Shiva Ray. When you look at Shiva Ray move, there's a beauty, an elegance to the entire range of motion, and you can see how united in the core it is. But you can't be united in a natural movement without addressing a long list of your emotional and physical feelings. If you want to numb out pain, you will be more like a robot when you move. It's this compensation that Jung addresses. Thank you so much, Sonia. As you commit to moving with more grace, you're going to wake up the feelings you've been hiding, and then you must commit again to tackling those things and healing them. And when you do that, you get the gift. You get paid by being present with the extraordinary gifts of this life. And let me tell you, having a beautiful, simple life feels much better than eating caviar and floating around on a yacht and yet being numb to who you really are. If your head is always in pushing and more and playing extreme games that are outside your body, and you think that taking care of your body is always getting a massage and always eating caviar and always following the recommendations of your nutritionist, you won't really feel as much as you will if you do a weekly yoga practice and keep yourself limited in terms of how much you desire material gifts. Appreciate the material life for sure. But if your head is bound up in investing in things that are outside your body, outside your presence, you will literally not feel yourself day to day on anything close to the level that you can feel yourself if you actively get in and take care of the basic challenges that come up day to day. Learn to stop repressing your major feelings. Learn to address the traumas that you've left behind. Learn to grieve the things that you've lost. The more you do this, the more effectively you'll appreciate the stuff you were doing anyway. You'll appreciate a cup of coffee and taking a breath. And how do you measure the gift of a good, beautiful, deep breath? How do you measure that? I encourage you to measure it very highly and put it first. Haha. Sanyo, thank you for beginning the questioning phase. What is consciousness? So this is a big question, and I'm not going to answer it as if, I'm the only expert that matters. A lot of these terms have different meaning to different people. To me, consciousness is that which is aware of itself in existence. So this is part of your eternal self. It means when you leave this earth and you leave this sun and you enter space, and when you're in space, in between stars, you leave relationship to heat. There's very little heat in space. There is some, but there's very little once you leave the gravitational pull of a planet. And all this stuff affects your spirituality dramatically, your soul dramatically. So when you leave any star, any fire, and you're having an existence out of relationship with a fire for a while, your consciousness is still there. And there's a lot of consciousness out there. There's a lot of consciousness that doesn't particularly want to hang out around stars. They like floating in between. There's tons going on there. There are a lot of comets and asteroids way out in the Kuiper belt, way past Pluto, where there's much less heat. And this is huge. A lot of beings like to be out there, and they are. I don't encourage you to explore it in a sloppy way because it's daunting. It's daunting. So consciousness is that which is aware of itself wherever you go. And the thing about consciousness is this. If consciousness is not memory, if you remembered everything that you've done all the time, like you couldn't function. Like, how could you function? I'm inviting you to remember that you've had other lifetimes. I'm inviting you to remember that you've existed off of this planet. If you had access to all of your memories of wherever you've done at any given time, and you didn't know how to restrain yourself from going into those memories, it's like you would start playing 27 different songs at once. Ah, painful. So consciousness exists in this tension between memory, where if you have a difficult time focusing and restraining yourself and making choices of what song to play, including in memory, then you need to, it's a really good, clear sign that you need to incarnate somewhere. When you incarnate somewhere, guess what happens? When you incarnate somewhere, you're making a deal with a bigger body. So whether that's the sun, a star, or a specific physical body, material, from anything from a comet, an asteroid to a planet. When you exist in relationship to one of these forces, it puts you in perspective. It chills you out for a while. It's like putting on headphones so you can listen to one thing consistently and not be overwhelmed by everything else that you've been doing. It can be very restful, and it can be very much like a reset button. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to, these things. You know all of these things. But it can be very daunting to reawaken them because it gives you this capacity to explore in, and your mind can learn to wander too far away and you get ungrounded. That's why it's so crucial that you all do your yoga. And people are starting to show up again now that I'm out of the talking about yoga time. So look, the yoga gets you back here. When you're back here in your body, you're evoking a wide range of feeling. You can be awake, sorta, but you're so numb to the feelings that are happening in your body that you're free to let your attention go in all sorts of directions. But come on, man, be honest with yourself. How often do you simply use your freedom to evoke all sorts of things at once? And then you're playing 3 different songs and you can't think clearly. And sure, you were free. It's exciting to try to think about what it was like to live on Mars. But if you don't restrain yourself, that's just an escape. And you won't actually be addressing the fact that you're here. So at some point, you weren't here and you chose to be here. Why did you choose to be here? I assure you, you had choices. You didn't have to be here. In fact, in many cases, it's tough to be here. It's not easy. Getting closer to a star can be like climbing a mountain. It's not easy. So you worked to get to Earth. Once you get to Earth, maybe you're tired, maybe you're pissed, maybe you're frustrated, so you don't remember why it was so important to you to get here. But I assure you, you made a choice to be here. So if you're going to spend a lot of your time not being in your body, even though you worked your ass off to get here, that's kind of sad. That's why I invite people again and again and again to develop this simple commitment to a yoga practice, okay? 1 hour, 1 hour. Somebody left when I said it, for heaven's sakes. This is distracting. I should put a piece of tape over this. 1 hour a week, 320 minutes. 1 hour a week, 320 minutes. Magnificent difference in your life. The goal here is to get your consciousness into your physical human body. When you get more and more of your consciousness into your physical human body, you're waking up. Your consciousness has much more potential than you have right now. It doesn't matter where you are. You could always be more aware, more present, have your consciousness be more awake within this experience. So the goal of a healthy spiritual practice is to ask the questions about what is distracting you. What have you committed yourself to keeping at bay that prevents you from being whole and more integrated and more present with your consciousness now in this life? Well, I have been encouraged to embrace one thing, and I have not emphasized this enough. Love is the first and last word. English is one language. You have learned and forgotten more languages than can be enumerated. One of the great joys of existence is to learn a new language because it puts you in a position of humility to start over. It's a big part of starting over. So when you agree to incarnate, there's this function of forgetting and remembering. Love is here. Love is relationship into the earth. I think it's important to not think of it as something. Don't try to be so transcendent. Don't try to put yourself in a position of an eternal being too much, because you're here. Love is the first word you learn and the last word you learn. It's more than a feeling. More than a feeling. It's more than a feeling. It's more than a feeling. It's the embrace that says everything terrible that happens to you is surrounded by love. Everything terrible that happens to you, you are held within a love that will guide you to transform all this energy, all of this experience into something much better for you, no matter how long it takes. Love extends that broadly. And yes, in the beginning of choosing to incarnate, it's entirely predicated in what I know of as love. There's this extraordinary surrender. It's beyond a mother and a child. It's the mother of your spirit, which is a very different relationship. We need new words, because when we all exist in relationship to the same mother, this is not mother. This is something beyond all of that. The love on that level, it's so worth it. So worth it. Matt Beach. Shepherd Hermes. Shepherd Hermas. No. Yeah. I would love to. And I haven't even heard of it. And I've done a moderate amount of research. Here's what happened for me. Just a simple story. I started getting messages when I was in my 20s, and I didn't know where they were coming from. I started reading a lot about spiritual paths and such. And I integrated this body of knowledge for about 5 years. And then I took my glasses off. When I took my glasses off, I completely stopped reading or watching movies. And I actually had contacts, and I took them out and got rid of them for 4 years. For a brief period of time, a couple months, I got some glasses, and then I promptly lost them, and I wanted to lose them because I felt like I was tuning into something else, and I wanted to exclusively pay attention to what else I was tuning into. So from when I was 30 to 34, it's funny, I remember things by my age rather than the date. I literally tried to forget what date it was for all these years because I was trying to listen to Thoth. I didn't know it was him at first, but he revealed himself to me in a dream. And if you look at the 12 Chakra Secret Code video, which is one of my first videos, there was the inspiration to launch this channel in many ways, that he'd come to me in a dream and he taught me how to unlock all this consciousness. And so he taught me how to unlock all this consciousness. And I started asking him questions. And most of the answers I give you are in relationship to what happened next. Like I was just obsessive about learning. And I asked and asked and asked, and now I can share from that experience. Hey, thank you for being here, Tam. It's good to see you. After a couple of years of this, after many years of this, I found the Emerald Tablets of Thought, and it was like tears. And then I was listening to it again and again and again. Many people have had this experience, just again and again and again. It was retuning me. But for me, I had the unique and blessed experience of like, he taught me a lot of that stuff already. He was teaching me a lot of what was contained in those tablets. And the affirmation was beyond belief because it's been challenging. Like I've been so divorced from the world in many ways, and I was not sharing. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I wasn't surrounded by people who necessarily believed me when I tried to tell them what was happening to me. So I learned to kind of preserve myself by not talking about it. Like I didn't really relish the doubt that I received. So I was going through these epiphanies, and I'd be like, I'd sort of shake my friends and family and girlfriends. Like I'd cry a lot. I'd like go off and not want anyone to talk to me for a while. And after a time, I wasn't explaining it anymore. I was just writing it down because it always got worse. It never got better. I never like said, "Oh my God, I just learned this." I'd just get people going, "Whoa, okay." Always detracted from my experience a fair amount. And as a result, I just learned to internalize it all. Recently, I've gotten in tunes with the Kabbalion, and quite frankly, he told me to. I knew what it was, but I hadn't been drawn to look. And then he told me to look, and teaching me all that as well. Now, to be honest with you, it really fills some gaps because when I say I'm learning from it internally, it's not like I have a perfect memory and I'm not picking up everything. Things get vague. I don't ask enough questions. I get distracted. So once I start reading these texts, it's like everything just clicks really quickly. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I end up having, a fair amount of insight that's not in the scriptures that I can offer. And that's what I'm trying to do in these classes and videos and everything I'm putting here is share the added benefit blessings that he's taught me that really help make sense of much of these sacred gifts that have been around for quite a while. So, I don't need to convince you, believe me or don't, but the reality is I didn't read these things and he did teach me internally. And it's so beautiful for me to find out that, oh my God, this is really, there's some part of me that's always doubted. It seems improbable. I took my contacts out. I didn't read. I didn't watch movies. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I did my best to commit everything to my spiritual path. Nonetheless, a solid part of my consciousness thought I was crazy. And so the affirmation of tuning in and finding out that he was really teaching me the same things that have been around for a long time that I've probably known in other lifetimes. In fact, he's told me that I have. So in many ways, he's been teaching me to activate and remember across the boundary of lifetime in a way that's very daunting. It's very challenging. And this is something I'm going to address next week about incarnation and remembering multiple lifetimes. Oh, bless your heart. Love, 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 love. Good to have you here, Tamim. Hello, 3-3. Is he specific on who he connects with? What do you mean? Well, here, I'll ask him what he has to say about it. I got a funny answer here. Before I read your answer, I'm going to tell you. No, I'm going to read your reply first. Yes, he does. But you can influence it by asking. I laughed because he said he often answers me with things I don't expect. And the first thing he said was, "They're not going to fight with you as much anymore." And then he followed that with, and a lot of this is beyond verbal. And quite frankly, I don't go nearly as deep into this as I hope I will be able to in the future. Transcending the dominance of verbal communication is something I used to be better at when I was cut off from everybody else. When I didn't wear glasses and I didn't watch any media and I just did yoga and sang and meditated and sat by rivers and such. And I'm not exaggerating. I did a lot of that. When I lived that way, it was easier for me to be present in a more transcendental communication where basically a lot of the communication it's not primarily in words. It's more like you get words that are commentary on an emotional consciousness ball. So the consciousness ball he just gave me following the words was I'm attracting a lot of brave, wild souls who you want to do it on your own more than you want to listen to me. And I don't blame you at all. I totally respect that. Finding the balance between listening to a teacher and finding it on your own is it's the way, it's the path to find the balance. And I take no offense when you want to take your distance and try things on your own. Do me a favor though, just incidentally, try not to fight with me. I really want the best for you. And I am so honored and blessed when people trust and respect me. And when you want to explore things on your own, I get that. I honor it. I worry about you. It can often be unproductive and a little dangerous to wander around on your own when you don't really have the foundations and the tools. But you're the only one who can make that choice. So bear that in mind. So much of the intention here is to reconnect you to him. Most of you probably have an ongoing relationship over the course of lifetimes with him. Most of you. And I'm here to help you activate that. And you know it. And because you know it, you long for it. The beauty of the connection is well worth it. The love I experience with him is beyond all words. So yes, I'm here to help you do that. And I am in no way, shape, or form want to or could begin to replace the connection you have with him. And I can teach you a lot about how to do this in a way that is much less wasteful of energy, time, could, help you not get lost in all sorts of mistakes and lost corners, eddies of consciousness where you're trying to connect to him on your own, but you're not getting nearly enough to make your efforts worthwhile. So please do the damn yoga. 1 hour a week, 3 minutes, okay? There's a little more. Just a message for me to remember. All right, other questions. Generalized questions, a little bit more time on them, and then I'll do some readings. I'm going to try to be a little more disciplined this week. I'm trying to do half hour of questions and then half hour of readings. Hey, I'm going to take a break to say, little update. The foundations of this channel are working wonderfully. And I've been encouraged again and again to trust that kind of playing YouTube is great. It's great for humility. It's great for joy. It's a much better relationship and structure of sharing than any other that I have been exposed to. Certainly for me to share with, hopefully you guys, because you're here. I am taking it to the next level. I've been putting on some ongoing ads this past month. My subscribers have gone way up quickly. I'm really pleased. I'm exceeding a lot of the best marks that main YouTube people say. Like I'm getting more subscribers for the money I'm putting in than many people do. And, than their averages or whatever, and what they encourage you to expect. And I think that's a sign that, I'm putting out good material. And that's exciting because I'm going to push this past 1,000 subscribers. And so it's doubling in just a couple months with, not that much push. All the money is coming from you guys. So when you make donations right now, it goes towards advertising the channel. And my trust is look, I'm doing my best to give you the best medicine in the world. If I could tell you how many videos I've watched from people who are selling hour-long workshops endlessly, and I'm just giving you my best. I'm not even beginning to filter it because something beautiful happens when I don't try to say, I'm going to reserve this and make you pay for this. Now, there's a time that comes where holding space for a small number of people, like when I give sessions and I draw a circle around the space and I do active work to take care of one person in that way, it's valuable. It's a good way to make some money. And so I'll offer workshops that way because the container is valuable. But I am giving you my best information. I am not trying to maximize how much money I make on this, and I never will. I'll probably get sponsorships. I'd love to get sponsorships from people who are sharing products that I love, that I really genuinely believe in. And I trust my ability to discern that. I'm not going to compromise it. But in the meantime, if you make donations, I'm just putting it into advertising the channel, sharing the videos that hopefully you love, or you wouldn't be here listening. So if you have the urge, the inspiration, the gratitude for what I'm sharing, please do make a donation. The links are below in the description to Venmo and PayPal. Thank you. What's mana or prana? Well, here's how I work with the words. All right, understand. Like, I have no patience for people who are too angry in defense of their understanding of different words. Words evolve over time, and it's certainly difficult to watch one culture embody the lessons of another. And I understand that in many ways that can feel insulting to some people, but we're creating a world culture, and it's a patchwork. And I think it's really appropriate to ask questions about whether definitions and understandings work for a broader range of people. And it's important to be humble and grateful to the cultures that give us different things. And if I've oversimplified this in a way that offends you, I'm sorry. Please just, share your impressions. My understand. I haven't used the word mana a lot. My understanding is that mana is positive energy in the world that inspires you and brings you to life. My understanding of prana is energy in the world around us before it comes into our body. And my understanding of apana, which is a word that isn't used nearly enough, in my opinion, is what happens to pranic energy once it transforms as it enters you. So it's different. It's a different frequency relationship once it goes through your chakras into your body. Now, prana usually enters your body most easily through the crown and the root. And there's less access from the other chakras. But the more you heal yourself, the more you open yourself to health, the more prana can enter you through every chakra, enter and leave you through every chakra. But there's this specific relationship through the root and the crown, because there's an even denser energy that starts with apana. And then you're working with the Sushumna and the Ida and the Pingala, which further articulates the energy and brings it into a denser level within your body. It separates into masculine and feminine energy in you, revolving around the Sushumna, and then connects to Chi, which integrates, that's an even denser level of energy. And the Chi feeds the meridian, through the meridian system, feeds the rest of your body through the organs and the glands. So that's the range of definitions that I work with. There are many more. It's like every doctor is not an expert in every system in the body. If anything, many of them specialize too much. I have been encouraged, and I ask about this. I ask Tolt constantly. He encourages me to embrace a certain range of understandings, and they work powerfully for me. So this is the range that I work with on a regular basis. I think it's important that I start looking into mana more, because I never asked that question. It's not something I've articulated as particularly to focus on, and I'm gonna pay attention, because I get inspirations from these questions a lot, and they often urge me to pursue a direction that matters. So that response makes sense. Prana is energy in the world. When it enters you through your chakras, it becomes apana, which is it transforms to become part of you. And it's a very fundamental distinction that matters. When you're thinking with your chakras, you're thinking in the tension between prana and apana. And that's why you can feel energy most distinctly actually along the surface of your body. The surface of your body is not the chakra itself. That's where the energy from the chakra touches the skin, which happens to also be a very relevant place where it interacts with the prana in the world. Keep those relationships in mind. They really help you understand life in a more effective way. We're kind of, that's last question. If you have I'm not going to spend much time. Last question. All right. Bless your hearts, bless your souls. We're going to do some readings. If I could invite you all into a deeper space, give a breath to your heart. Give a breath to your crown. Shorter breaths today. Breath to your throat. Breath to your sacral chakra. I'm putting my hands on my hips. Breath to your nose tip. Base of the skull, right above the base of your skull. Breath, solar plexus. Diamond eye. Lungs. Root. Just feeling it on the bottom of my chair. Crown. Whoa, chin. Navel. Third eye. Heart. I invite you to do this or just watch, hands together. Time, space, an event are reshaped in relationship to this sacred sharing. May the readings I do offer the clearest and most helpful insight I can to each person involved. May I give no understandings that are unnecessary. May I share what will be a blessing. May I trust boundaries that are healthy for all of us. And may you go forth from this time in this space, committed to working on loving yourself and those around you in increasingly beautiful and healthy ways. Dita, good to have you here. MP, bless you. Who would like a reading? And as we do these readings, please only type "I would like a reading." So, and keep it short because I want space for whoever I'm reading. I want to be able to ask you questions if I need to. So, I'd like to keep the feed from changing too much. So just list that you want reading, and I'll do my best to recognize and register. Tamim. I feel hard, and I feel a gratitude from you. I hope I'm not misreading this, but I feel gratitude from you. That's it's the first thing I feel, and thank you for gratitude to me. Back of your heart. So I can't emphasize enough. Integrating the front and back of your body, of your feeling, is huge. And it looks to me like the back of your heart it's a little numb. It's numb in a way that you're used to. The front, you're open to love in such a healthy way. You really need to focus on feelings that you've left behind, but you haven't really left behind. I promise you, when you push things out of your consciousness, they actually go to the back of your body. It mirrors your vision. It mirrors your senses. It's quite helpful that it works this way. It is by design. And what that means is there are a lot of feelings and thoughts and experiences that we leave that we haven't really left. You are carrying emotional experience. And it's not that far away. Like you can get at these things, but these are feelings that you have not been thinking about that are you need to before you can move forward. And I encourage you to take some time. Certainly a week is a good amount of time to just be open to memories of old relationships in particular, and addressing them with the compassion that you've left some parts of yourself behind and you need to reintegrate them. And Jim. Whoa, dude. So you're angry. I see anger, and you're having a hard time coming to terms with this anger. You're just holding it down. But you've taken, like you have held yourself still in circumstances. This is a pattern for you that you basically take what feels abusive. Now on the surface, it's not like terrible, but it's like you don't want to be in the situations you're in and you don't know how to leave. And then you get angry and you blame yourself for being angry. You're like, I can't trust myself. I'm so angry. Well, look, the anger didn't start this extreme. The anger started as an instinct that you need to help change the environment or the relationship you're in. This is a pattern. You do this a lot. But somehow you got it in your head that it would be more giving to give in, to accommodate. And a part of you is angry because you can't afford to. You're not getting the health you need in many of your connections. But then you're further shutting yourself down because you say, oh man, that anger, that's scary. That's not right. And it isn't right. You can't get that volatile anger at people as a regular part of your life. But you need to face and be present with these feelings, or you're not going to get present with the healthy boundaries that you need. Ah, dude, it's strong. A little more. You're confusing taking care of people with staying with what they want. Giving people what they want is not the same as giving them what they need. And giving them what they want, like keeping them, staying with them in the ways they want, doing what they want you to do. If that's not good for you and you're ignoring your spirit telling you you need to make changes, ultimately you're not really being helpful. You're making things a little bit worse. So you need to trust that changing this pattern is going to be good for the people who you love also. Not right away. It might result in some confrontations. It's scary if you explode, but you can't just reject the anger or you're not going to heal it. Whew. That's a lung chakra. I really encourage you to learn those exercises, breathing exercises, grounding exercises, standing yoga exercises for the lungs, for your shoulders, and use them. When you use them, you amplify what's actually healthy. You make it louder so you can make better choices. When you're uncomfortable in relationships or in an environment, I encourage you to take a little break, do these exercises, and see if you can make a different choice. And try to do it with grace. Try not to get angry and explode. But if you need to, work to channel it, but don't just repress it. Wow, man. Please give me some degree of confirmation, each of you, if I'm off or if I'm accurate, because I do make mistakes and I do misconstrue things that I see. Bless you, Tamim. MP. Huh. Wow. Now I really want you to confirm whether this is true because I'm getting this rather clearly. Um, God, I don't remember the name of the movie. Adam Sandler, Punch Drunk Love, I think. I'm getting the feeling like you haven't actually been someone who gets angry very much, and you're feeling it, and you're almost curious, like what is going on? And I encourage that. Like you're waking up passion that you need. You need. It's always important that you learn how to channel anger and aggression. But simply, this is you, I think. Tell me, please. Bless you, NGEM. Because this is I just did this reading on NGEM, and a lot of times there's a divine synchronicity in when people come, but I don't want to get you tangled. MP, tell me if this is accurate. Are you someone who has not really had a consistent aggressiveness coming through you, and you're starting to feel those feelings? Is that true? And to the extent you don't want to have this personal interaction, I understand. Yeah. So I'm encouraging you to let this wake up. It's the Scylla and Charybdis. Okay, there's a monster on two sides. Being too passive, too calm can be a problem when you need to get into gear. I've never punched anybody, but I once confronted someone who I had reason to believe was going to kill someone else, and I put my hand on my heart, and I swear to God, I practically wanted to hug the guy, to try to calm him down. And someone knocked him out. And later there was a big discussion about it. And I was convinced that this person was just off the hook. He was not in a place where I was going to be able to reach him in that moment in that way. And it was a very painful, difficult, emotional acceptance of the fact that maybe sometimes you have to knock people out if they're going to kill. That's scary. That didn't groove with my understanding of what being a good, loving person is. But if you scale this back down to just anger, it's even easier to embrace. Sometimes, if you have never really gotten angry, you might need to learn to access that anger in order to draw appropriate boundaries and to prevent yourself from being walked over. By all means, be as graceful with that as possible. But if you're caught in a tension where you don't even know how to say no, it's important that you allow that energy, because anger, before energy is anger, it's just energy. It's energy welling up and trying to define a different relationship, a different set of boundaries, trying to say, I don't want your music playing in my head, trying to say, I don't want you standing in the middle of my garden. I need you to back away. If you don't have access to the ability to go, you might just live without a sense of self that's clear enough, and you might not be able to protect your dreams enough. So I encourage you, the sense I'm getting for you is that you can take it to the next level. You can take it to the next level by allowing these feelings. I'm just calming it down because I'm getting some guidance for myself. Forgive me for being a little spacey for a sec. It's hard multitasking. Bless you, Ed Jim. I'm trying to weed through. I can't figure out where I was. I don't know why I'm here. 1 second. I got to take it. Like I've got to look at something. Okay, I got it. Sounds about right. Haldi. Have I missed anybody in there? I would love a reading. I would love a reading. Please. Yes, I have. 3-3. Then, yeah. 3-3. All right, look, first is mental. I can't get past this thing. I don't know if you know, but Pythagoras started a cult, ancient Greek. He started a cult in which everybody, to get into the cult, I believe the rumor is that you had to be quiet until you understood the sacred nature of three. Naming yourself 3-3 is a big deal. I'm wondering if you knew this. I'm also encouraging you to trust that the mind, body, spirit triad is a really good place to work on the sacred relationship of three. You can find it in many places, but it's an excellent one. It's an excellent point of focus. Now, personally for you. Oh, whoa. This is beautiful. There is a beautiful synchronicity between your deep love and what you are seeing. You're finding your calling recently, right? This is beautiful. You're finding your calling and you're getting a clear sense. Is this conscious yet, or is it just close? You're getting a clear sense of what to do, what to plan for. And it's true. Like whatever inspiration you're getting is accurate. I'm just here to affirm it. Please let me know if I'm on, because this has got to be real. Is this true, 3-3? Have you been getting clear inspirations lately about what to do with your life, what your calling is? Let us know. Okay, well, it's coming, all right? There's a really strong relationship between your heart and your lungs. And when the heart and lungs get in sync, it's beautiful. It means the energy is ready to rise. So be open to a very clear understanding of a longer term planning. Oh man, I really believe that this is on the horizon. So if you look for it, you're going to see it more clearly. Be open to, it's the kind of thing like I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was like, "Oh my God, I have to go to school for this to study something," and it's clear to them, like, and it's like you're ready to make a 4-year commitment or something to something. Like it's that level of intensity I'm seeing in you, and it's really beautiful. So be open to that for this winter. Explore that theme for this winter, because I think you've got some really beautiful gifts waiting, and you can trust them. You can trust them. I'm not going to mess with it more than that, because it's there for you. It's there for you. And please report back, because you got some really cool stuff to share. Haldi. All right. Man, all of these are cool. They're going deeper. They're sort of fun. And again, I really want confirmation on this. Haldi, it looks to me like you're getting a deeper relationship to how strong you are. And maybe it's scaring you a little. And I encourage you to go with it. Feel it. Like it. Get yourself into your core, challenge yourself more. Obviously, my language is do more yoga and do more difficult stuff. Try straightforward strength stuff. Like even do some push-ups. Like feel that, because with push-ups, with like repeated effort that requires strength, do handstands against the wall. Hold yourself there. Feel it. Yes, trust it, man. Trust it. Channel it into your body. Channel it into your body. Use physical practice as a way to make you feel more stable. Because my sense is that it scares you a little. You're not familiar with yourself in this way, and like, we need you. We need you to be you. We need you to be strong as you. And I can't encourage you enough to use your practice to help make that real. Every way I can help you, let me know. Happy to give you, like, write a message. I'm happy to give you more direct personal guidance. Yeah, it's good stuff. And it's not going to get out of hand. You just have to get used to it. Whenever you go from one threshold to another, there's a little bit of like, whoa, what's going on? And just like, back off when you feel overwhelmed, chill out, meditate. The range this is why I love yoga practice, because you use the yin and the yang. Use them both. Love it. Enjoy it. We need you to be strong, Halti. We need you to be strong. Lenny. Oh, MP, cool. Good to know. Good to know. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. That was kind of fun because I might have read that differently if I knew you were Marquise. I probably would have gotten the same insight, but a little bit of a different twist on it. You're welcome. I would like a reading, please, Lenny. Fun. Fun. Okay. Again, I really want confirmation. I'm getting deeper with people than normal. Here's the story I got all at once. You've always been fun, but people came to sort of over rely on you as fun, so it became a burden. So you sort of scaled it back, got a little more private, got a little more serious because you were sort of sick of being the one that people like depended on to bring fun to the game. Now you can reclaim it. What you've needed is this access to the ability to say, not now. Stop burdening me. So you can be fun when you want to be fun. Is this true? Is this true? It's such an articulate vision that I'm getting here. I'm just waiting to see if you have an answer, Liddy. You're ready to take it to another level of responsibility. Meaning I really encourage you to use art intentionally. Like think about educating people. Awesome. Think about educating people. Like you were overburdened by being sort of the one who sparked the room. But if you can craft, what kind of artist are you? I mean, again, if you don't want this personal exchange, it's okay, it's fine. But if you're open to letting me know, what kind of artist are you? Yeah, that's exactly what I see. People have relied on you for excitement. So I really encourage you to craft more intentionally. Like, again, I do want to see like what kind of artist you are. Maybe am I challenging you? Like, do you even know? Like, have you dabbled in a lot of stuff? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, okay, I think you need to think about crafting what you have to share so it's like you've got something because it's really powerful for you to be the one who can be relied on for excitement, but that's also like the tragic artist frequently where it's like you end up drinking too much and doing hard drugs and dying young. Like if you identify too much with playing that role for other people, it can really sap you dry. But if you can intentionally be the kind of artist who like when to share and when to say no, then you can really embrace this and you could use it as your strength, and yet you can keep people at a distance so they don't take from you when you can't afford to give. So I really encourage you to commit to being more mature. I'm going to guess, obviously don't get people's ages, but I'm going to guess you're younger. And I'm going to commit. I don't mean it as insulting to say more mature, but I mean take it to another level of responsibility and then think about how you could share your essence and have it ready. The gift of having some kind of like a poem to recite or a game that you could get people to play, but you think of it on purpose. So you're ready when it's time. You go, hey guys, I want to invite you into this idea I have. And so you're building over time, and you're not riding the edge so much where you're always dependent on being the life of the party. And so it's about taking yourself, your life to the next level and being sustainable, thinking about how can you carry the best of your personality on for the next decade. I'm being a little vague, and if you want, I'm being a little vague, but I want you to think for a while, for a month. Just sort of explore, dabble, remind yourself what you like. You write about it. Write about what makes you happy. Write about moments when you've excited people. I imagine you have memories when you kind of felt like a hero, like you led the room, you inspired the room in a great way, but at the same time that became too full of pressure. Once I went to a dance, I'm not gonna. Yeah, no, I'll tell you. Once I went to a dance class with like 100 people, 5 rhythms, Gabrielle Roth, and um, I'd gotten together with a woman there, and it was passionate, and we met there, we met dancing, and then we sort of committed to each other a little more deeply, and then we went and danced, and we lit the room. I mean, it was like 100 people and we were like in the middle, and like it was amazing. It was amazing. And I can still remember this 20 years later. It was so beautiful. It was a sense that we were like elevating the entire room and bringing this passion to life in a way that rippled through everyone else. The next week, we got in there and I felt like, we're going to do that again. Da-da-da-da. It's going to be so exciting. Oh man, I felt like a truck ran over me. And I like had to leave and go into this like cool down room. And she came through the other door and she's like, you feel it too. I'm like, yeah, they were putting too much pressure on us. We were putting too much pressure on ourselves to do that again. Sometimes these moments are very sacred and synchronistic, and you can't identify as the person who does that on command. People who try to do that, they sing the same song over and over again. They get sick, man. Dave Matthews giving shots of steroids in his neck just so he can give a concert. It's not healthy. You're not supposed to have to push yourself through those extremes, but people do that in these cultures to like keep playing the same role. So I will stick with you, Lenny. For years, I'm going to do this for years. You come back, I will support you in being better at this in a way that's healthy for you. Om Dita. Om Dita. Well, Lenny, here's the thing. Before we get to Om Dita, I'm saying perhaps consider being a performer. Maybe though, more of like a teacher, someone who could guide a class or something. Um, but I'm encouraging you towards doing that. I think you'd be good at it. Although I do get the sense of like guiding something more dynamic, like a yoga class, perhaps. You could really be a gift in that way. Om Dita. Bless your heart. Well, the first thing I get is just another level of like, you're being present with me in this work and in this community, but in a way it's a gift, like it's special. And I see that. Like, I really thank you for your trust and your feeling. Beneath that, there are tears. Like you've suffered. And you've suffered enough in ways that you're seeing me. You're very quick to try to help. And I appreciate your empathy and your compassion. And this is a reading for you. And you've moved through a lot of emotional experiences in which you've struggled to love in the face of a lot of pain. And you're bearing the burden of it. Like, it's calluses. It hasn't broken you by any means. You're stronger at it. But all the same, like, you haven't given yourself enough compassion for the suffering you've been through, and you need to give it attention. You need to sing. I would like you to sing freestyle about some of the relationships you've left. Not just lovers, but close people. I would like you to sing freestyle about those feelings, and don't try to keep it. Really, don't. Yes, it's beautiful. Don't try to keep it. Let it go. If you commit to singing that way, you will be able to access feelings that don't want to be held on to. Why do you think Amy Winehouse sang until she died like that? Because she was supposed to sing some of those songs and then let them go. But everybody heard the beauty in them, and that beauty spoke to what other people were feeling so deeply that they wanted her to sing it again. And it functions as medicine for other people, but there comes a time for many artists when it's not time to sing those songs. Some of the most successful artists know how to say no. They won't sing the songs that other people love because they know they need to say no to those songs. But the way too many mid-level artists who get famous, they sing what people want, even though they need to let go. You need to sing between you and the spirit of the people you've left in God, and then let it go. Don't turn it into something. You need that healing. That's it. It's deep. Be careful. Do yoga too, because you got to ground yourself. That stuff is strong. Oh, thank you, Sonia. Am I saying that right? Sonia? Like Daniel, but Sonia? It's a beautiful name. I love it. Thank you so much. Ha ha ha. Thought so, Dita. I could see it. I freestyle always. Ha. Good. Me too. And you need to freestyle about some of your old relationships. Let yourself access the deep feelings involved and move through them. If anything really needs to stay as a chorus, as a simple chord progression, maybe you'll keep it in half a year, but don't try. Yes, yes. Isaac, welcome here. Welcome. This is interesting. This is going to be cool. You've got a very direct relationship with divine guidance. That's good. You're good with it. You're avoiding taking responsibility for your level of experience. That started as humble. It comes from a humble space, but it's time for you to take more responsibility for your strength and your experience and your insight. You're biting your tongue a lot. Tell me if this is true. Tell me if this is true. It's so clear that I would expect it to be. But I'm going to continue until I get confirmation from you. It looks to me like you just see more than you share, and it's important that you find a way to share. Yes, actually, in plenty of situations, it's probably best you not share because they're not ready to hear you. But I'm telling you, I can see that you're missing opportunities to support people. Yes, yes. Awesome. It means you're seeing things clearly from a very spiritual and divine place, and you're not allowing that to influence the world. You're not communicating it in any way. And this is all Isaac, by the way. Yeah, and you need to. Now, I think it looks more like putting yourself out there. Like, are you trained to teach or practice anything? It looks to me like you're trained to teach and you're not teaching. It doesn't necessarily mean interrupt people and tell them what you think of them, but it does mean I think you need to put yourself out there more and share in a way that people can learn from you. You've got a really strong, clear, divine connection. Like you can trust it. You do already. I think if I can affirm that for you, I'm honored. Well, that's funny because it looks to me like learn something. Um, Look, I don't mean to be self-absorbed or anything, but I'm trying to teach in a way that you could share with other people. So to the extent this might suit you, why don't you try learning some of the things that I'm offering? The yoga routines in particular, the simple ones, and then you could teach them to other people. It's basic, some of them are just 5 minutes long. If you look at the yoga playlist on my channel, just memorize the 12 pose. There are two 12 pose ones. Just memorize them and teach them to someone. It could be a blessing. And my greatest honor would be if I could help bring to life the leader, the teacher in you, and you'll keep exploring that until you take it well beyond the scope of anything that I'm trying to share. But in the meantime, learn this stuff and give it to other people. Yeah, honestly, like trust your divine connection. It's solid. You're in balance. You're good with your boundaries, it looks like to me, in a way that is really great. You've got a great future of being a wonderful part of the world. Thank you for being you. Isaac. There's something else for you, Isaac. you there's been some tension. There's been some tension with your mother, but it's not as bad as it feels sometimes. Like it's healthier than you might think. Just a little bit of reassurance there. Is that true? Well, that's it. That was just lingering. It's just like you're getting a little bit of a push by life. You're ready. You're ready to take on more. And I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. Bless you guys. If there are any more readings, I'm here, but that is the time. I will do my best to continue to do last minute requests. Obviously, awesome. Awesome, Isaac. So bless you guys. There's obviously we're settling in at about 6 to 12 people per class, and that's probably all that I can read in this way. And I'm going to keep doing this model for a little while. I like it. It's inspiring. It's healthy. I really love building with you guys. Here's the deal. I absolutely am excited to grow this channel. To the extent that you can share, please do. Honestly, I'm reaching so many more people by putting these like fairly inexpensive ads out there, which I was not doing much of. So if you can make a donation, the money you donate is going straight into making these, small ads that, reach all sorts of people. And quite frankly, it's really exciting right now because I look at the demographics and I'm getting people from all over the world. Lots of people from India, which I'm so grateful for. I love it. I love India. Next week, I'm going to do 2 classes. One on Monday, yoga and chakra work. One on Tuesday, spiritual guidance and these questions and readings. I really invite you to the class on Monday. The goal is to spend an hour a week. It's going to be about an hour a week committed to focusing on your relationship to your mind, body, spirit, which helps you set intentions for how you focus for the week. 1 hour a week with movement and chakra work, 20 minutes. This is 2 hours a week total. You could do this. You could do this. On Tuesday, the class will be about incarnation and reincarnation, reaching beyond this lifetime, accessing the wisdom within you that is greater than one life, greater than your age. I'm excited to share this stuff. I've been trying to build towards it more recently. Thank you so much, Lenny. Thank you. And you're wonderful. I really appreciate your presence. I love these. I love doing my work. This is my dharma. That's the yogic word, and it's a better word than anything in English. It's divine work. Yogis in much of the Indian culture has more space for respecting that people have many different ways. And, there are people known as sadhus in India who they just live in nature. They live on the fringe and they're respected. When people give them money or food, it's considered a blessing and an honor. They have a much more dynamic relationship to divergent lifestyles. They don't have this stratified sense of success and failure based in material wealth and such. My dharma has been to do this work, and putting it on the channel is beautiful. And I love giving the class in this way more than ever. I am looking forward to getting just a little more people. I have to get 1,000 people in a certain number of hours of watching. And YouTube allows me to ask for donations in the chat box, allows me to make join buttons so people can sponsor me more easily. And I don't really want to have to do that through Patreon or anything. I just don't want to make too many different mediums. So I'm excited to get to that threshold. It's sort of close. It's fun. It's fun and joyful to watch this work. And you guys are the biggest part of it. So thank you for being at the heart of it. I'm excited to teach you all more, share more in the future, hear more of what you are learning, and trust that we're all learning to bless this world in increasingly beautiful ways. Much love. Much love be with you and your families.